Ladies and gentlemen, I want to use this opportunity to highlight to some of us, to my Caribbean people, wherever you are across the world, in the Caribbean, and wherever else you are in the world. There's a war brewing. There's a struggle developing, a geopolitical struggle developing in the Caribbean that most of us common people may not be aware of. There are, of course, political analysts, there are, of course, sociologists, economists, and all these people. There's some of them in back in the Caribbean who are well aware of this. Most of the country leaders may be aware of it, but why we're not hearing any big talks about it, I don't know. So I want to use this opportunity to just shed some light on it from my common sense perspective, because it's very important for us to know exactly what is happening around us as common people. I want to use this opportunity to say to you all, if you listen, if you're hearing this video, please subscribe, like, share, and leave your comment in the comment column. Let me carry on. I want to go back to the 7th of March 2026, where the President of the United States, Donald Trump, held a event, a summit at his Doral, Florida property, along with members of a Caribbean or CARICOM community, where they launch, or either president launch, what is called the Shield of America's initiative. Now, some experts deem this a DJT plan, a Donald Trump plan, personal plan for the Caribbean. It requires CARICOM members to sign on to it. I must admit, not all CARICOM members were in attendance. Some were there, some were not there. What I noticed, though, of importance is that those who were in attendance are encouraging those who were not to sign on to it. Now, this initiative, for those who don't know, is all about the Caribbean or CARICOM communities to cooperate with the United States military and law enforcement in an effort to combat transnational crime, with a focus on drug cartels. This was March the 7th. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, prior to that, America had their largest aircraft carrier ship out parked in the Caribbean. And they were also blowing up some drug boats on the seas. They were blowing up drug boats. We have yet to see any proof that these people are drug dealers. We have yet to see any proof that drugs was on these ships or on these boats. And if I remember very well, there were 2 survivors. And I think that was the last boat they blew up. There were 2 survivors on the boat. And somebody gave the order to finish them off. Because as the story goes, dead man tells no tale. So you can't keep them alive. So anything the Trump administration said about that is maybe questionable, but who else can prove otherwise? I say that, ladies and gentlemen, because I want to bring to you the concerns coming out of that Doral meeting. As some expert in the Caribbean begins to wonder and question, are we really sacrificing our foreign policy alignment, or are we giving up our sovereignty here by signing on to that Shield of America's initiative. Let me fast forward to our Caribbean. As I said, there's a war brewing in the Caribbean that most of us don't know about. And this is a kind of new Caribbean power struggle. Yes, it is. Guyana is now one of the fastest growing economies in the hemisphere, and the reason for that is because of Guyana's newfound oil discovery. Now, the brewing conflict between Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago is evident. And one of the first questions that arises is, what does this mean for Caribbean geopolitics or for the CARICOM integration? During the 50th CARICOM EDSA government meeting, the president, Irfan Ali of Guyana, made his speech. And during his speech, he directly aimed a part of the speech at members of CARICOM, signaling that the regional balance of power is shifting or about to change. Now, Guyana discovery of oil in or about, I don't remember exactly the year, has fueled a resurgence of the country's failing economy. Most of us will also remember, we're tying America into all of this to show you where we're going. Most of us will remember that Venezuela threatened Guyana to invade them and take over that oil because they deemed that the territory where the oil was discovered belongs to them, Guyana. When they threatened to invade Guyana, the president of Brazil stepped in and said, we will not allow you to use the road, that stretch of road that connect Guyana and Brazil, because we the Brazilians built that road, and we will not allow you to use it to invade Guyana. America also stepped in, and they had their ships anchored, of course, in Guyana, protecting Guyana. Now, Guyana emergence as one of the fastest growing economy in the hemisphere is now forcing a recalibration within CARICOM, forcing a debate over trade barriers as part of a much larger strategic alignment, because Guyana now is rising to a power and they need to align themselves or place themselves strategically where they will benefit. They will get the most out of their newfound position. The power struggle has framed the conflict between both countries as something over paperwork and not a military arsenal or anything like a warship or, nuclear war. Which suggests that the real issue is market access, trade barriers, and influence, which Guyana now deemed it should have some influence in the CARICOM market and the trade agreements between that is happening, that is in place. Ghana has always been critical of the trade barriers set up by stronger economic member countries of Caribbean, such as Trinidad. Thus, the war that is brewing now in the Caribbean is between Guyana and Trinidad. Guyana is now in a position of strength and influence, so they want to maximize that. And President Halley, during the 50th anniversary, has made it clear that he needs and requested Trinidad Prime Minister to remove the artificial trade barriers that Trinidad has put in place. Because in truth and fact, and I think that is right, what that is intended to do is to create a level playing field. Because so far, Trinidad has benefited more from Guyana rather than more than Guyana has benefited from them. Now, the request, even though Guyana was actually, as I said before, critical of the trade barriers set up by member countries, stronger member countries like Trinidad, and they have echoed it without any doubt. It has set the stage for a deeper regional shift. This has set the stage for a deeper regional shift in terms of influence, energy, and economic power. President Ali called on Trinidad, and I must repeat this again, to remove the artificial barrier to trade. And this is framed as a strategic signal, not anything of diplomacy, not one of diplomacy. It's a strategic move on the part of Guyana requesting Trinidad and Tobago to remove the artificial. As I said before, Guyana is now the fastest growing economy in the hemisphere, a growth which has placed new pressures on Trinidad, who was the long economic industrial powerhouse in the Caribbean. It is very evident that you're going to get these kind of conflict and these kind of struggle and these kind of pressure happening, especially when a new rising economic power meets an established power. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm doing all of this because I want to get right back to what I said. I don't believe CARICOM is CARICOM it for real. On paper, it is CARICOM, but in its existence, it is not CARICOM. There's no integration, and I know now leading experts are beginning to voice their concern that the Caribbean really needs to be integrated. The concern for Caribbean integration is now growing louder more than ever. And let me continue. Guyana's oil boom introduced the possibility of intra-regional energy security, which could give Guyana a major strategic influence in the region. Also of equal importance, both leaders of Guyana and Trinidad are expected to meet the United States President Donald Trump. And obviously, when U.S. interests in Caribbean energy and maritime security, with interest in the Caribbean energy and maritime security, this adds global weight, which in addition, when global attention rises, regional tensions intensify. When global attention rises, regional crisis or tension intensify. And it intensifies on the back of the question now being asked: is that country realigning their foreign policy to someone else out there? Are they sacrificing their sovereignty? What's going to happen to us next? Where are we? Are we about integration or not? What is happening? Now, President Ali has really called during his 50th, the speech of the 50th anniversary, CARICOM meeting at the government, calling and asking and begging the Trinidadian government to create a level playing field as far as the trade is concerned. Also, a debate question that arises is whether Caribbean foreign policy is about to change. You understand? And realign themselves to some other outside influential power or a global power rather than to integrate themselves, to create real integration in the region for its Caribbean people. Are they willing to sacrifice the sovereignty of the Caribbean, of CARICOM? Now, I'm understanding a little bit about this because I haven't gone into it in great deals in that detail as I should, but I just want to give a synopsis of the power struggle that is existing in the Caribbean that no one is talking about, which can create a real regional shift for us and tear the Caribbean apart, or in the long run, it can solidified integration. It can do that, as well as it can rip us apart. President Ali made his speech coming out of the 50th at the government conference. So I decided to take a look at the 48th and the 49th at the government conference, which was held last year. One was held in February. Yeah, I think the 48th was held in February last year in Barbados, and the 49th was held in Jamaica in July 25. And I did this because I want to present a little bit of facts as it relates to Caribbean integration and the seriousness of our leaders. And for us as a people to recognize that these leaders, no matter what, no matter how they talk, don't take their political rhetorics for gospel. No matter what they're saying, it is not gospel. Because what they say and what they do is not the same. Let me go back to the 2048 CARICOM Intergovernment Conference, which was held in February of last year, from the 19th to the 21st. It was held in Bridgetown, Barbados, and hosted by the Barbados Prime Minister, Miss Mia Mottley. Now, the theme of the meeting was strength in unity. Now, that for me can mean a number of things. Strength in unity as it relates to Barbados, as it relates to the entire Caribbean, or as it relates to Barbados and their most friendly countries to them in the Caribbean. Strength in unity relates to what? Or does it relate to Caribbean integration? Let me not exclude that. But it just said strength in unity. That's the theme of the meeting. Now listen to the agenda, what was discussed. Food and nutrition security. CARICOM single market economy, CSME. Climate change and sustainable development. Foreign policy. Air and maritime transport. Regional digital resilience. Crime and violence. Those are the 7 things that were discussed in the 48th Heads of Government Conference, which was held in Barbados in February 2025. 5 months later, the 49th Heads of Government CARICOM Heads of Government Conference was held in Jamaica in Montego Bay. in July of 2025. In July of 2025, from the 6th of July to the 8th of July. Now here is the 49th Intergovernment Conference agenda. This is their meeting agenda. And listen carefully, ladies and gentlemen. Regional integration, which was discussed in the 48th. Sustainable development, which was discussed in the 48th. Security, which was discussed in the 48th. Climate change and climate finance, which was discussed in the 48th. Food and energy security, which was discussed in the 48th. CSME, which was discussed in the 48th. Least but not last, economic ties and digital transformation, which was also discussed in the 48th. Now tell me, ladies and gentlemen, are we really serious about Caribbean integration? Is our leaders really serious about Caribbean integration? Caribbean communities, for that matter? When you're discussing the same thing at every government conference you're having, who are you fooling? Where are you taking the nation and taking out other people? What level of leadership this has been given to us, handed down to us? And we sit here with the people, we gobble these things up, we jump with it, we run with it and say, oh, this is this and this is that, because we forgot what was said last year. And I'm sure come next year, we'll never remember what was said. If I go to the 50, I'm sure the 50 may reflect the same thing that is discussed here. The only difference that may reflect in the 50th at the government conference is Guyana growing economy. But when we look at the agenda, are these people really serious about Caribbean integration? Instead, we're looking at Shield of America's initiative. We're looking at the Shield of America's initiative. And we're looking both Trinidad and Guyana leaders are looking to meet with the President of the US to discuss what? To discuss what? Trinidad has oil, Guyana has oil. So what are these two leaders looking to discuss with America? Forcing other members in the Caribbean now, expert analysis alike, to start to wonder, is the Caribbean about to realign their foreign policy to somewhere else or some global power? Are they willing? Are they about to sacrifice the sovereignty of their people, of their own country? And for what reason? Ladies and gentlemen, I want to use this opportunity once again to say to you, if you have come this far in this video, please like it, share it, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe. I can't appeal to you no more. I really want to grow this platform, because I'm now starting to dig into the thing that I promised a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, that I definitely get to the point, because of work and studies. I have a little free time from studies now, so I'm digging into what I'm doing. I'm trying to get as much information as I can. It's getting better more and more. But what is happening is also I'm trying to make it an effort to keep it a little where, we can make common sense to average people. We want to reach average people to understand, because I think education is the key to understanding everything. When we can help to educate people in a real way to understand, that don't jump up behind politicians because of their rhetoric. The campaign rhetoric, politicians behind the mat. The mic is going to tell you everything to make you feel comfortable and feel hopeful. But do they do everything to make you feel hopeful? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lenny Robbins YouTube channel. Let us know your politics by watching what these politicians do and say. And let us come together to create a better understanding for each other, because none of us know it all. We have to do that. Watch what they do. Lenny Robbins, over and out. Bless the love, Caribbean people, wherever you are. And I hope you'll put your subscription to this. Watch this video to the end. It's important. It's slowly opening our eyes to our own geopolitical war that is going on right under our eyes in the Caribbean. Thank you once again, everyone. Blessed love.